So you're going to learn how to DJ and I am going to teach you. My name is Tozi. I'm a music producer slash DJ, and by nature of this business, I'm also a content creator. And without wasting your time, your job as a DJ, in addition to making sure that people dance and have a good time, is to play tracks in series but make them sound like it's one continuous long track. And you can do anything creative in between, but before you can do that, you need to understand the basics, which is where this video comes in. So what I have in front of me here is a DJ controller, and these range from like $100 all the way to more than 3,000. But they kind of like cars, you know, some are nicer than others, but they all ultimately do the same thing, which is to get you from point A to point B. I'm gonna have links in the description to controllers at any price range, and if you need help choosing, I also made a video that I'm gonna have linked below as well. Anyway, the one that I have here is the Pioneer DJ DDJ FLX4, and it's one of the more affordable controllers, but in my opinion, this is the best controller for beginners because it's the best of both worlds. You pay a price that is not that expensive, but you get a lot of features for the price that you pay. And although all controllers are different, the layout is more or less the same. So on the left and the right, we have what we call the deck or the player section. And in the middle, we have the mixer section, which is this part here. And on the deck, that's where you play the music that you have selected. And deck 1 is identical to deck 2. So anything that I say about this one will also apply to this one. Even the buttons are on the same sides as well. So the first thing that we're gonna have a look at on the deck is this thing here, which is called the platter or the jog wheel. And this is a modern representation of a vinyl disc. In fact, in many ways, it behaves just like a vinyl disc. But before we can get into anything, we need to load tracks. And how you load tracks is going to be different from controller to controller. But on this one, you use this knob here. And this is just to browse the tracks that you have. And you click on it to get into a playlist. And then you click on it to get out of that playlist. And if you need to load something, let me just go to this playlist that I have here, which is called tutorial. Just click on it, and to load a track on either the left or right, you press load on either side. So I want to load it on this side, so I'm going to press load just here, and the track is loaded. And then the first button that we're going to have a look at on here is the play/pause button, and it is exactly what you think it might be. If you press play, the track plays, and if you press it again, it pauses like this. And then if I press it, the track pauses. So play, pause. And then above it, we have the Q button, and this is kind of different. It's a weird button. So if you press and hold it, the track plays for as long as you hold the button. And if you let go, it stops playing like this. And then if I let it go, it stops. And then if the track is playing and you press the Q button, it stops and goes back to the beginning like this. And if I press it now, the track stops and goes back to the beginning. And then to the right of these buttons, we have what we call the performance pads. And I'm not gonna get into these now because you still need to understand the basics, and these are not part of the basics. So I'm gonna move on from them to the tempo fader. And this is something that we use to control the speed of the track, but we're gonna get into it later on in the video. For now, we're gonna move on to the mixer, which is this section here. So the first thing that you need to have a look at on the mixer is these 3 knobs here, and they are what we call the 3-band EQ. So this controls the low frequencies, the mid, and the highs. So if you have a track playing, you can use this one to kill the lows, this one to take away the mids, and this one to take away the highs. So it's the mids here. This is the lows, which is kind of like the bass, and this is the highs. So if you take away everything, it becomes silent, and if you bring them up, then the track plays normally. However, you need to understand that we never use these to boost any frequency, so you never have them on a position like this. If they're here at the 12 o'clock position, it means that the track or the frequencies are at their maximum volume, just here. And then below the 3-band EQ, we have what we call the color effect. And on this one, in most controllers, it's just the filter. And what the filter is the 3-band EQ, but using just one knob. So if you have the track playing, if you do this, the highs go away, and you're just left with the bass. And then if you do this, the lows go away, and you're just left with the highs. So it's kind of like doing this. Let me just play it. It's kind of like doing this. Or this. But with some resonance, but ultimately it's just doing the same thing. And then as you can see here, it says 1 and 2. So this is deck 1 and this is deck 2. So these things here apply to this deck and these apply to this deck. So it's 1 and 2, 1 and 2. And then below the 3-band EQ, we have the volume faders. So this is kind of like a volume knob, but in the form of a fader. So if you have a track playing, if you drag this down, the track goes away, and if you drag it here, it stays at the maximum volume. So this is a volume knob, in the form of a fader. And then above the volume faders, we have the cue buttons, and these are kind of like the secret to DJing, really. So what they are is basically buttons that allow you to listen to music that the audience cannot hear. Even if you have the volume fader all the way down, if you press this button and press play, the music is playing on your headphones. For instance, you as the audience right now cannot hear anything, but if I bring this thing here, there's music playing on the headphones. That's why we always have them on like this, because we're listening to music that you as the audience cannot hear. It doesn't make sense right now, but I promise as we go on, it'll make a lot of sense. For now, we're gonna go into beat matching, which is like the heart of DJing. And to beat match, we need to load the second track. And to load it, we follow the steps that we followed with the first track. So I'm just gonna go to the second track, press this load button here, and there's a track that is loaded here on the right. Now I'm gonna play both of these tracks for you because it just hit me that I didn't actually play track 1 for you to actually hear what it sounds like. So I'm gonna play track 1, and then I'm also gonna play track 2. So track 1 sounds like this. I'm just gonna go here to the middle of the track and play it. So like this. And then track 2 sounds like this. I'm just gonna go to the middle again and press play. Now, if you take any 2 tracks and play them at the same time, this is what you get. Now, we could go to the middle as well. Let me just skip to like somewhere here and press play. As you can tell, that sounds like garbage. In South Africa, we call that horses because it sounds like horses running, and it's not nice to listen to. So please never do that. It's just don't do it. It's the biggest crime that a DJ can commit. So just don't do it. So the reason why it happens is because if you look here, the tracks are running at different speeds. Track 1 is running at 120 BPM and track 2 is running at 122. So what BPM is, it's beats per minute. And if one track is running at a certain speed and the other one is either below or above that, they're gonna sound like garbage. The first thing that you need to do is to make them play at the same speed, which is where this tempo fader comes in. So with the tempo fader, if you drag it up, you're slowing up the track, and if you drag it down, you're speeding up the track. So the lower the BPM, the slower the track, and the higher the BPM, the faster the track. So as you can see, if I drag it down, it goes up. That means it's becoming faster. So like this. Dragging it up makes the track slower. And if I do this, it speeds up. And then if it's here, then it's at the 0 position, which is the original speed of the track. So now knowing this, there are 3 ways that we can go about it in terms of making these tracks play at the same speed. The first is to speed up track 1 to match the speed of track 2. So if I drag this down, the speed changes and we can make it match that of track 2. And you never need to stress about the decimal points. For instance, 122.03 is not too different from 122.0. So they don't have to match exactly, but if you can't get them to match, you can't do that. But you never need to worry about that. If it's 121.99, it's just the same as 122. So the first way is to speed up track 1 to match the speed of track 2. The second way is to slow down track 2 to make it match the speed of track 1. So you just drag this one up until it's at 120. And then the last way, which is kind of my favorite, is to make them meet in the middle. So you just speed this one to 121 and then slow this one down to the same speed. This is my favorite way to do it, but you can use either one of those and you will get the same results. However, the only thing that you need to make sure that you never do is to speed up tracks at ranges that are just too high. For instance, if there's a track that's playing at 100, if you speed it up to 120, it's going to sound unnatural and just not nice. So just keep it maybe less than 5. That's the sweet spot in my experience. But you never know. You can do whatever you want to do. Just make sure that you don't do anything too drastic. So now that I have the two tracks playing at the same speed, if I press play on both of them, it's going to sound a lot better than before, like this. Now, as a human being, you're not going to press play on time every single time. There's human latency. Sometimes you're going to be early, sometimes you're going to be late, and that's where the jog wheel comes in. The thing is, you can have tracks playing at the same speed, but still not be in time. For instance, if I press play here and press play on this one, they're technically playing at the same speed. However, it doesn't sound nice. It still sounds like horses. That is where we use this thing to beat match. So basically what the jog wheel does is speed up or slow down the track temporarily. So if you do this, the track speeds up temporarily, and as soon as you let go, it goes back to its original speed. And if you do this anti-clockwise, it slows down periodically, and as soon as you let go, it goes back to its original speed, like this. See, it's faster, and if I let go, it goes back to its original speed. And if I do this, it slows down, and then if I let go, it goes back to its original speed. That is kind of the difference between the tempo fader and the jog wheel, because this is kind of permanent, whereas this one is temporary. So if you have a track playing and you're trying to match this one to it, if you're behind, then you speed it up a bit so that it catches up to this one, or if it's ahead, then you slow it down a bit to catch that one. So basically, if I have it playing like this, and then press play here, it's behind, so I just need to do this, and then now the tracks are perfectly on time with each other. And then if it's ahead, kind of like this, then now I'm going to have to do it anti-clockwise so that the other track catches up, and we have kind of the same thing where the tracks are perfectly in time with each other. But like I said at the beginning, your job as a DJ is to play these tracks in series but make them sound like it's one continuous track. And how you do that is, as a DJ, once the track is playing, you are listening to the second track on your headphones and you beat match it and make sure that it comes in at the right time. It all sounds very complicated, but I'm gonna have some easy steps for you that you can take that are gonna help you do this effectively. So step 1 is to match the BPM of track 2 to that of track 1. So you already know that you're bringing in track 2 while track 1 is playing. So you might just play it at 121. And while it's playing, you match the speed of track 1 on track 2. So you just make sure that they're running at the same speed. And while all of this is happening, you have the volume fader all the way down. And step 2 is to kill the lows of track 2. So you just use this knob to take out the lows of track 2. And then step 3 is to enable the headphones here using the Q button. So bam, the headphones are enabled. And step 4 is to press play at the right time on track 2. And then step 5 is to beat match. So you can either slow it down or speed it up depending on if it's behind or ahead track 1. And then step 6 is to slowly bring it up, not like this. You bring it up slowly to the point where it's at the maximum volume. And then step 7 is to switch out the lows. So you kill the lows of track 1 and bring up the lows of track 2. And then step 8 is to slowly take out track 1. So not like this, but take it out slowly because you want the mix to sound as natural as possible, like this. And bam, you have completed a transition and you're ready to do this over and over again. Now I'm going to do the transition while following the steps that I just gave you to show you how easy it is. But if you need a more in-depth tutorial, I have a DJing course called the Modern DJ that you can find on my website. There's 3 levels. You can either take the beginner, the intermediate, or the advanced. The important thing to know is that they all take you from the beginning. So if you buy the advanced, it comes with everything that you'll find in the beginner. And don't be surprised by the pricing. It's in rands. And I also have a laptop-only course for those of you that don't have controllers yet. You can still learn how to DJ just using a laptop. I'm going to have links to everything in the description. For now, let's just do the transition. And bam, just like that, you're a DJ. If you need help choosing a controller, watch this video here. And thank you for watching. Catch you in the next one. Peace.